Hi, Nick Collier here, and this is my shop. Come join me. We'll have some fun. Well, Nick Collier here again, and we've got a project now that's just for me. It's going to make my job a lot easier and more comfortable too. I built this, I don't know, probably 35 years ago. I bought this platform here at a flea market for $12, and then I got the motor for like $5 at a garage sale, and the whole disc system came with that. This thing, and then of course I welded the frame together and got everything to fit. And just, I don't know if you've been following along, maybe 6 months ago or so, we took this thing apart and rebuilt it. And it's done me well for all of this time, no problems. The one issue I have is, and this part here lifts up and drops back down, but it's chintzy, you know, it's an old Harbor Freight thing or something like that. And so if you don't lock it down with the bolt and tight, the thing just kind of wobbles around and makes a big mess. So I've always had it horizontal, and there's times when I need a vertical with a little table so I can kind of get angles correct and everything like that. So just lately I decided, okay, let's just start looking for another one of these and do a vertical. And you know, I purchased one off of eBay, of course, and the guy said, "Oh, it works great. It's no problem. Oh, you're going to be..." And I, of course, got it here, and the belt was missing. One whole side of the housing was cracked because they didn't pack it right. There was 4 or 5 things wrong with it, so I just sent it back and got my money back. And this one popped up on eBay, and it was $50. Now, of course, $50, and it was like $70 to ship it from Oregon. And I was concerned because, you know, I paid $12 for that sucker, and it wasn't in that great a shape, and it lasted 35 years. Let's come in closer to this other one. Now when I got this, or when I had him ship it to me, it actually, he was selling it for $75 with the table and with the motor, and I says, "I don't want the motor, I don't want the table, would you just sell me this part for $50? And he said, "Okay, yeah, I'll do it." And then of course it was $70 shipping, which wasn't that much fun, but you know, whatever. I got it, and it's an old Craftsman, an old Sears, and all of the runners are roller bearings, and the platen is not really that worn. I mean, I don't hardly see any wear in it. I mean, it's rusty, but there's hardly any wear in it, and it's heavy. I mean, it was well worth the $70 to ship, because it is one heavy piece. Now it does drop down, and I've tightened it up so it won't drop down, and it doesn't have the platen on it, but you know, I can build that. Come on, no big deal. So we're going to integrate this into this system over here. And separate motors, of course, because I want to be able to turn one on or the other on. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to swing you down, is this thing sits on a wooden table. You know, it's been sitting on this table for 35 years. It's not bolted down. It's just sitting there, and it hasn't moved. I never had to move it one way or the other. So what I want to do is I want to move this all the way back as far as it can on that table, and then I'm going to take another piece of wood and put it on top of this one, and of course bigger, wider, and then drop the second belt sander down on the table with the motor underneath it. And here's the motor. And I got that motor for, can't remember, $8, $9, something like that. I collect motors. I got a whole stack of them back underneath one of the benches back there. Must be 20 motors back there. But motors go out, and when they go out and you need them, you got to pay $150 for a motor. So whenever I see a motor for $10 or maybe even $20, I'll just get it. And consequently, I have a whole stack of them. Anyhow, so we're back to this part here. So first thing I think we need to do is take a measurement of the platform and build a steel plate, or cut a steel plate out, and then build some legs, kind of like the legs on this. I don't know if you can see it or not. Let's bring you down. Maybe you can see it. Yeah, there we are. Kind of like those legs there, so that we can get the motor underneath it and have the motor kind of compact with the entire system. So legs and skids and some way of having the motor. What I want to do is I want to have the motor hang on a hinge, so that you put the belt on, you don't have to tighten it, you just have it hanging there, and the weight of the motor holds the belt snug. I mean, we're not putting a huge amount of pressure on this, and in fact, if you look across the way, the newest lathe that I bought here a while back in here, it's got that same system, and it works great. And I put some reasonable pressure on that chuck. So we're going to do that. I found a piece of steel. I think it's 3/16 or something like that. We're going to cut it out, and let's get started. All right, let's take some measurements. We're looking at about 8.5. Yep, 8.5. Eight and a half, and our length is something like 13. All right, that's a good start. Let's see here. Do this. That's 8.5 right there. All right, there's our platform. Okay, now we need a piece of material that's going to be maybe 1/4 inch thick and long enough. Here we go. Right, yeah. Looks good. And that's heavy enough we don't even have to hold it down. A little bit more. Okay. Now, I've had this plasma torch for, oh, I don't know, a year or so, and I could never get it to work. I mean, it would work a little bit, it'd kind of spit and sputter and give me trouble and be a pain in the ass. And so, you know, I just kind of set it aside and picked it up once in a while and dinked with it. And the other day I picked it up and I realized that I had the ground connected to the table rather than to the object itself, and I wasn't getting a good enough ground. As soon as I connected the ground, bang, this thing just took off. So we're gonna crank it up. Let's see, turn it on. We got our air already in. I'm gonna put my safety glasses on and some gloves. Because this thing puts out some heat. And let's go ahead and cut. And turn on the fan. Alright, maybe it still doesn't work. Yeah, look at that. Pain in the ass. Alright, well it doesn't work with 1/4 inch, or 3/16 is what I'm using here. So we can come in with the pattern torch and go ahead and torch that back just a little bit, and I think we'll be able to pull it off. So, we'll be back. Okay, we got our platform and polished up all the edges so that they're not sharp, and kind of cleaned it up. And so now what we need to do is drill the holes for the mounting. And I took my calipers here, took a measurement, and that should just be about what we want. Let's come over to the plate, down a little bit. Something like right in here, right? Okay, a little bit less. Even less. That looks about right. So now, the width is, looks like 8 1/4, so 4 1/8, which would be right about there. Uh-oh, look at that. We're off. But it is a platform. Not that big a deal. So we're 8 1/2 here, so 4 1/4. Someplace right about there. All right. And I'm seeing a 3/8 hole. We'll go a little bit bigger than that. Alright, well, what I've done is machined a little sleeve, one to go inside of the other, and I've got 2 of them, and they're sitting like that. And what I'm going to do is weld the inside part of the sleeve to the platform and the outside part of the sleeve to the actual motor bracket itself, and then we will have a hinge for the motor to hang on. Not bad? Okay. Let's move forward with that. Okay, so I've got one side tacked. Now what we need to do is figure out where the other side is going to connect up and tack that in place. Let's see how that works. That's gonna work just fine. Okay, so let's weld this beast in. Nice. Perfect. Okay, so now this flips upside down, and we need to weld some legs onto this in order to give ourselves enough space for this motor to be active. So at this point, I think we can just weld some legs onto the corner of this. Let's see what that's going to look like. Well, how about some just solid square stock? That should work. So what's our measurement? And we can just take the measurement with there's the motor, and we need a little bit of leeway for that motor to kind of rock back and forth. So I'm thinking somewhere right around in there. Pieces. Okay, well, in this project there's a bunch of places that aren't that critical, but I think the height of our spacers are going to be somewhat critical, not, you know, out of this range, but so what I'm going to do is just mill the ends so that we know that they are square with one another. Okay, we're going to slow things down. Okay, that way we are assured that these are all the same length exactly. And okay, let's go back over and see what we can do about it. Hey. What you doing? Well, maybe I'll come with you.
Maybe you will.
All right, we got the sander in place, and it's all looking good. And all we need to do is, and I found a pulley. I've got a box of pulleys back there. So I've found one that's going to work, except that this is a, well, I don't know, maybe it's going to fit. It's going to fit. All I got to do is kind of clean it out because it's just dirty as hell. What can we use to clean it out with? I think I've got a battery cleaner brush. I'll go and grab that. Okay, well, I found a battery brush and kind of cleaned out that interior. This thing should just slide right on. Look at that. Oh man, could you ask for more? Let's take the retainer ring off. Slide this beast on all the way. Okay, maybe we're going to have to go this way. That looks better. Something about right there. Okay. And the motor uses its own weight to kind of hold the belt in place. This thing's just falling together. Now, I do want to put a platform out here to be able to kind of come up against that. So that's going to be a little bit more complicated, but for right now, I think we've got what we want, somewhat. And so we need to measure the belt. Let's see if we can get this motor to sit up higher. Nope. There we go. And we'll take a cord. Any old cord will do, and I'm going to use the one that's right here, and that should just roll right around this thing beautifully. Pull it tight and mark it. And we've got from one end to the other. There's our end. Okay, where's our other mark? I know it's here. There it is. We want a 27-inch belt. No problem.